Here we are for the 3 ways. Welcome back, everyone, and us too. Wild and free. What does it take? Healing. So we don't want to bother you all the time with healing matters and other things that might be heavy. We want to set you free. Healing sets you free. So let's wait for the fantastic ones, Glenn and Sandy. So happy to see them back. We have been in pause for almost 2 months. Fair enough, the summer was in between and we also have to enjoy and give space. Glennino, how are you?
Francesca!
Guys! So nice to see you again.
Absolutely.
Even though we've been chatting, of course.
It's a beautiful Thursday.
Well,
people on today.
Yeah.
We some lives. We'll talk about some stuff. Francesca, where are you? What part of the world are you?
No, I'm in London. I'm just in my new room because I've been moving out. My sister went to live with her boyfriend. Changes always happen, and we must go on.
So,
I love changing places anyways.
Where are you going?
No, house. I mean, we moved from the last house to another place. My sister with her boyfriend, and I moved to another house.
Oh, you already moved?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, wait, your sister and her boyfriend are not living with you?
No, not anymore. I mean, we had our space, and her boyfriend was always with us because, to be honest, the last house where we have been to, it was pretty magical. I don't know if because of the sessions, the healing, magical sessions we've been doing, but the energy, Sandy and Glenn, was so attractive that everyone wanted to stay at the Gattopardo house.
Oh, I love it. I think we lost Glenn.
Sì, we lost Glenn. Aspetta, I'm gonna accept it again. Sandy, and you are so magical too. You have been suffering a lot for your feet, and then now you are on shape as always.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Welcome back, Glenn. Yeah, my foot looks a little like Frankenstein because I got it rebuilt. Since we saw each other last, because this is the first episode of our 3 Ways podcast, season 2. So since we saw each other, my son got staples in his head and I got my foot rebuilt. I don't know if you can see it in this tiny screen, but you see what's left? That's it right there. Like, that's it.
Amazing. I can't believe
Yeah. I posted the original pictures on Instagram and it was pretty gross. But yeah, it's getting better. I just put a sneaker on for the first time 2 days ago.
Yeah, and it is an example of how something that is totally destroyed because you had this problem before and then it got destroyed for once and now it's totally rebuilt. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you know what a great way to look at it. I've been saying I have a bionic foot. Like, it's the next 50 years, it's just going to be, it's like I moved house. I just got a new one. So
tell us, Sandy, that you used some techniques to speed up the healing. Did you do some guided visualizations? Did you do what kind of mojo do you use to assist yourself?
Thank you so much for asking. The truth is I really, really, really did. So I recorded something called the Ultimate Healing Hypnosis. To me, it's the best recording I've ever done. People can get it actually on my website at sandyameshypnotherapy.com. It's also in my new app, Rockstar Your Mind. I am telling the truth. Before my surgery, I did that specific healing hypnosis. After my surgery, I did it, I tell people do it for 30 days. I did it for a few days. And then I skipped a bunch and then I did it a little, but really I just did it for a few days. And if you look at a lot of the research of the science of hypnosis, I'll pull one out of thin air. Harvard did a study where they found that bones heal something like 2 weeks faster when you use hypnosis, right? And I've got thousands of studies, and I know, Glenn, you do too, about how we heal autoimmune diseases and cancer with hypnosis. Now, I did not say don't get the surgery. I did not say don't take medicine. I didn't say replace medical science with prayer. I didn't say that. What I said was go through all of the right doctors, go through all the right channels, and use hypnotherapy along the way. And together, these things work really, really well. And look, if I'm a testament to it,
Yeah.
my doctor I walked in yesterday with Sneaker. He's like, well, you're supposed to still be on crutches. I said,
Yeah.
I know. Can I go for a swim? He's like, get out of here. Go ahead. Yeah.
The difference using this in addition to that, using patients in that creative way, it's massive how much it helps. And so good. I love it.
Thank you for asking. And I'm assuming, Glenn, in your HypnoVault, you have probably one or more healing type hypnosis recordings.
There's nothing that's just one or more. There's many, many, many now. Yes, I have many different healing sessions on specific and general. From autoimmune to cancer specifically, to healing a broken heart, to what. There's more than I can even recall. There's many, many in there, and it's great.
So what do? We go to the HypnoVault and we just like search out healing, and it,
I love the name also, HypnoVault. It's very cool.
Yeah.
I know.
See the light at the end of the tunnel, my dear friend.
Yeah, it works.
All the light is locked in the vault.
Oh, it's true. It's the vault. It's my life. It is. It's really, really cool. And actually, by this weekend or even next week, I'm going to start posting. I did a couple webinars. I did one last week for Unshakable Confidence that came out really good. I had a big crowd on. One thing I didn't love about it was sometimes when you record, I'm using Google Meet, it can be a little bit not super clear, but I'll send it to you to take a look and see what you think.
Absolutely.
The content is there. The meditation was amazing. The lecture part was really good, but the quality isn't perfect. So I'm a little unsure about that, but I'm going to put it out.
People are forgiving of that though, because they're like, okay, it's live. Like I think people get it.
Yeah.
If your content's good enough, and I know your content's good enough. Is it that, like, is the quality that bad?
No.
It depends on how open is the person also to receive the information, because as we know, any coach is good for different people. It's about the connection, not only about the content itself, because it's all about the energy also. It's Glenn's energy. It's not only, in my opinion, only precisely about what is said. And and the quality, because it can be super qualified for some, and for maybe less people is not so clear.
Yeah, I think that's maybe a good thing to talk about even today. Obviously, when you make a meal, Francesca, you want it to be perfect. Sandy, you and I, when we see a client, or even Francesca, when you see a client, you want to have it be a perfect interaction. You want
zero. I hate perfection, Glenn.
Really?
Actually, I'm not a coach, as you know. So I can be tough, I can be sweet. It depends also on what I feel that the person needs to be shaken up, because that's the truth. Like, we cannot be so sweet all the time.
Okay.
Francesca loves when things go wrong. You see, you're breaking a tomato, and then your life will get better.
I hate when things go wrong, but if something goes wrong, I'm not gonna, fly over it. I wanna face it, because things are important, bad and good.
Yeah. What I've made a commitment to in the work that I do, especially in my online recorded work, I never go back and redo a session once I say it's done. My very first program I did several years ago was the Hypnosis system. It's a 1 month, and several times in my mind I think, well, maybe I should update it. And then instantly, Michelle actually was our mentor, that said, if you created something at the time, you created it that way for a reason, and that's how it was meant to be. Let it be what you created. Let it be finished, even if it's not perfect. And I think that is something that's important for everybody to hear with their own, whatever your creation is. We can chase rabbits forever trying to get something perfect and never get off the start line and just be stuck. you know?
I love that. And Michelle Guzzi, one of our mentors, is amazing. She's in
I
California.
remember her. She's great.
Oh yeah, because she came on the show.
Yeah.
She
She
did.
was here in New York because she lives by Glenn in LA, but she was here in New York a year ago for my birthday. So I'm putting it out there. Michelle, come back to New York for my birthday this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, represent this year because you know she's not watching. But Abraham Hicks tells this story often. So if you listen to Abraham, you may even be familiar with this story, where she said it was like in the same day she had two people separately come on stage, and it was different stories, but it was the same story. The first woman said she'd spent her whole life building her portfolio. I don't remember, some kind of art portfolio, whatever work she did. So it's thousands of things in this thick book. It was way before we had the internet, right? So your portfolio was like a piece of paper in a book, and that was your book. You didn't have like, you know, internet copies of it. So she was driving across the country, probably from New York to LA, and wanted to present her work to start a life bigger, better in LA. And somewhere along the way, she pulled over and then somebody stole everything out of her car. So it was gone. So she literally showed up to LA with nothing to show for her work, and she was freaking out. This is decades worth of work, right? Okay, so what do you think Abraham said about that? Knowing what Glenn just said, what do you think?
Well, I believe that when something happens and it destroys the idealization of perfectionism, of perfection that we have as an expectation of something that is going to happen and is going to be perfect because I have all the material, I have everything at the end, you have to face it and bring out what you know within you, because what you have within you cannot be taken away. While what is external, you can lose it from one day to another. So always be confident for what you know, because what you are passionate about is what you truly know, and nothing can take it away.
That is exactly half of what she offered. That is perfect. That's exactly half of what she said. Glenn, what's the other half of what she said?
You know, I have somebody else just came to my mind. The other half would say, good.
That's basically it. That's basically it. By the way, Jackie's here saying hi, and she has to go. Hi, and we love you. So the advice was a combination of what you two said. Who you are, who you've become, isn't that anymore. So the only thing you can do when you show up to these new interviews, these new meetings, these new ways of building your business is to show up as who you are and who you've become. And the fact that you have nothing to show from your past, good, because you're no longer good, because you're no longer vibrating that way. That's holding you back. Mm-hmm. That old stuff, right? That's where Glenn started with it. That old stuff, leave it there. Just leave it there.
Yeah.
And if you bring it back here, whether, you know, like Glenn was talking about, to fix up old stuff or to present it as who you are, it gets in your way of who you're becoming. Start fresh here. That was important because it was all on the way to who you are now. Now, don't put it in your way of who you're becoming, right?
Yeah.
The second person who came up in that session with Abraham was a guy who, I think he was like 66, somewhere in his late 60s, and he had done very well in his life career-wise. He'd financially done very well, and due to whatever circumstances, it was all gone. All of his money, whatever companies he owned, it was all gone, and she gave him exactly the same advice. She said, don't try to go backwards and dig up what you used to have, but who you've become is someone who is successful, someone who experiences abundance. It doesn't matter that you're almost 70. Stop telling that story that I have to start over now at zero. You're not starting at zero. And watch how quickly it fills in. And that's really, Francesca, I feel like the magic world that you live in, which isn't so magic, because I think you explain it in a way that people can understand.
Yeah, because life at the end is always struggle and things bad happening around you all the time. And you will never stop being sad if you're actually a profound person. The thing is, you feel the magic once you feel it within you, because you activate your potential. And instead, as you said, Sandy, of looking at it starting from zero, you are expanding. So it's not about quitting, starting from zero, you are empty. No, you are expanding what you can be. Exactly.
So then Glenn, how do you give advice to somebody who's, say, 70 years old and lost everything? They have their wits about them. They have whatever drive is left. normal, healthy, strong person. Now they're 70 and they say to you, Glenn, help me. You seem to be an expert at this. What do I do? Because I just don't have the wherewithal to start over. I don't even have the money. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I actually, the same thing I say when I speak with people that are midlife and on, when they come out of a divorce, when they come out of a relationship, when they come out of a really intense situation. I would say to the 70-year-old or anybody that is getting divorced and they've already had their kids, and now I say, you know what? Let me tell you the gift about where you are in life. You get to start over without any of the pressure. You didn't miss out on kids. You didn't miss out on the experience of marriage. You didn't miss out on owning a business. There's nothing you missed out on in life. You can meet someone now with no pressure to make a family, no pressure of custody of the kids, the splitting up of the houses. Any of those things are all in your past. Now you can create a beautiful
No, that's very
day for what
Yeah. That's
you know?
beautiful.
yeah.
That's amazing. That's a nice reframe. Let me ask you, let's turn the tables on that.
The big
Let's take someone who
It's the ultimate reframe, and that is the reframe I live in.
I know, that's why we teach what we most need to learn.
Yeah.
You are a master.
Also,
So then how do we do the flip side on that? Let's take someone who's hovering around 30, between 25 and 35, and they haven't had that yet.
Mm-hmm.
And they come to you, they say, if I don't get it now, then I'm starting my life with nothing. They say to you, I only wish I could be somebody in my 50s who's looking back at all the things I already did. Right? What do you say to them? They don't have it. They don't know how to get it.
Same damn thing. I said, you don't even know what interesting position you are in right now, because you are not weighed down by kids. You are not weighed down by alimony, child support, houses you don't have.
push you up, Glenn, let's not be so dramatic.
And I get excited. It's like, listen, you can create from right now without any of the burdens and baggage that the rest of us had to let go of. We don't see the gifts we have in our life because we're always somewhere else. And so
we're all comparing our situations to others. It's not because someone has been struggling to build what is building or she's building, and so you will go through the same. Every situation is different. Every person actually is different. People compare to, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting, the positions we are in life and how we respond to things. So just when I was picking up my espresso this morning, I'm at the coffee shop right around the corner, and it was weird. Usually there's a long line, but I was the only person. So the woman behind the counter had time to chat. Like they do in the South when there is a line.
I skip the queue all the time.
Right. You go to North Carolina and you get your coffee, and there's a line of people behind you, and they're like, hey y'all, how y'all doing? And you're like, I'm the New Yorker second in line going, move it. Right. So anyway, she had time, and I don't know her. Maybe I've seen her before. I honestly don't know. And so she said to me, how is your week going? And I thought, what if I actually answer that question? So I did. I said to this person I don't know, I said, I am so glad you asked. Look at my sneaker. It's only 2 days this sneaker's been on my foot because I got my whole foot rebuilt. And now she's like, oh crap, now we got to talk.
The last
Anyway.
York, it was my high school reunion. It was that pre-COVID? I guess it was pre-COVID, but I went with my buddy Gary. We went to the city. We went to one of these New York delis, and I'm looking at the menu, and it's overwhelming. It's on the top of it's the whole wall, basically.
The grill, yeah.
And I'm like, all right, so I haven't been here in a while. I'm feeling friendly because I haven't been to New York in a long time. And
You thought you were going in for a bagel, and you're coming out with corned beef, with Russian dressing. What'd you get?
But here's the problem. I'm like, all right, well, you have so many things. What's good here? He's like, what do you want? I was like, yeah, I'm in New York. The guy, they were just like, what do you want? There's more people behind you.
Yeah. Step aside.
Yeah, I was like, that's right. I know where I am. I'm in New York City.
Next
It's not.
time you come home, Glenn,
Yeah.
bring binoculars, stand at the back of the deli and look at the menu.
Yeah.
Guys, I think all these people running fast through the streets of throughout the crowd of New York, they are super confident, and that's why they're so fast and they don't look in face to the face of anyone. How would you call behavior? Confidence or distraction, because they're already focused on their work, not even connecting to their space around them?
Well,
I think, no, go ahead, Glenn.
what do you think, Sandy? Because you're a New Yorker, so.
I think that because that does exist, there are a lot of people around the world who think that's what New York is. Let me tell you my definition of New York. Wake up early with the sunrise, do yoga with beautiful music, step outside. The sky is wide open because I've got Central Park over here and I've got the Hudson River over there, and the birds are flying around doing their morning routine over my head. The other day, I'm telling the truth. I had a bagel from the deli.
Wow.
And I picked off a piece. It was whole wheat. I picked off a piece of the bagel, and there were about 50 pigeons, a few European starlings, and some sparrows came around me, and they were eating out of my hand. And as I went to take a bite for myself, a pigeon flew, landed on my hand, and was eating my sandwich right along with me. So now this old guy, so this is my New York. This old guy with a dog comes walking by and he goes, you stop that right now. You should not be feeding the birds. Don't you know you can't be feeding the birds? Stop that. You stop it right now, lady. You stop feeding the birds. So I looked at the guy, looked back down at my bagel. He scared my friend away, and I took another piece and I continued to just feed the birds out of my hand. So what I didn't say, because like 2 years ago I would have, but now you guys have taught me some things about better communication. So I said nothing. But what I would have said 2 years ago, because it was in my head, was, you, sir, like your park free of these birds. These birds are ruining your park. You don't want them to come around. That's why you don't want people to feed, right? So you don't want people to feed the birds because it ruins your version of what your park should be. I think people should stop feeding you. But I didn't say it. But anyway,
it was actually very sweet because you understood his reaction.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, to directly answer your question about the people you see in those Midtown images of briefcase, eyes like outside of their head, right? Those are few and far between, but still I understand. I would call that 2 words, and these 2 words came from Dave Matthews, and those 2 words are ants marching. Mm-hmm. And I think it has nothing to do with New York and everything to do with a belief system in who's the one who wrote Eat, Pray, Love? Elizabeth Gilbert calls that mindset of achieve, 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 achieve. And the words achieve and earn are the same thing. Achieve and earn. Those are the opposite of worthiness. Those people don't know that they're worthy. So they think they're working really hard toward a goal, but all they're doing is working hard toward their grave.
Yes.
Well, Francesca, you are more traveled than most people. Definitely more traveled than we are. Right? You've been to many, many places. So
actually, you guys in America don't travel a lot. First of all, because America is far away. Yeah. And if you travel, of course, you go to the nearest place, but it's already so big. You feel the hugeness of the country. So here in Europe, it's cozier. So it's a different approach also toward the travel. So sorry.
So what is your take on? I'll show you mine afterwards. But what is your take on people in different countries and the friendliness or the rudeness that you experience? Like, would you say, like, hey, this country is always more friendly, this one isn't? In your experience, what do you think about people in those in that way?
That's why people generalize describing cultures, And it's not always the case. We can see it with food. There are so many different Italian, different flavors, and then you can taste the different flavors in different places. So the uniqueness of people cannot be compared to the, to the whole country. And there are Italians that I adore, there are Italians that are so pessimistic and so close-minded that I will never hang with. So it's not about, the generalization of the culture. You gotta go and meet different peoples from different situations. That's when you can get an idea, I believe.
Okay, so you don't think it is necessarily one area is more friendly than the other?
No.
You think it's more?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think that's true to a point. What I do think happens, especially here in LA, more so in New York, when we have a lot of people close quarters together, in certain parts of LA, in certain parts of New York, in certain parts of Chicago, when you put a lot of people together, I do believe it becomes a bit of a pressure cooker sometimes, especially when you're in a metropolitan area where parking takes a while. You can't just pull into a place nice and easy. You have to wait for somebody to get out and get in before somebody else does, and you're in rush hour around a lot of people. I do feel there is a pressure that affects.
And we spend too much time in today's world behind the screen. Everyone is, it's so easy to connect behind the screen because, you are kind of protected and you are like alone. Of course, you then to expose yourself online during a channel, or you have to be, of course, connected to what you do. But we are talking about the connection to what you do, not to the person itself. So because of the screen that has been implanted into people's brain, because it's very comfortable, it's easy, it's fast, we are losing the struggle within through connections. When you bring people together, the struggle because of this, it's all a habit, it's practice.
Okay. Yeah, I hear that. I do.
That screen life, that multi-screen life that you're talking about, I personally find that occurs, has a lamp, good, that occurs more when you're outside of the city, when you're in those country places, because you could be in a big, beautiful home or castle, only Francesca knows what that's like, and have this big, beautiful greenery or water or mountain scene around you, but still it's you there, and then you have your phone, right? Whereas in the city, I'll get up, I'll go to the coffee shop, I'll walk by, pick up this thing here, or go see that thing there, or there's a free show going on here, or, so I walk everywhere, and I can't go a half a block without saying hi to 4 people, and in those suburban ways of living, because I did that in LA for a little while, it was just me and my Mercedes, and that was it.
Yeah, that is that's also true. In the suburbs, everybody in their house, they're kind of far away from each other, and they kind of stick to their own little routine. In a city environment, you do have that opportunity, and I really do find you bring the light to your situation.
Yeah.
As I've traveled the U.S., there is a difference, and even when I go to Arizona, the people are they're in less of a rush than they are here in LA. And some of that is geographic. People in Arizona, people in the Midwest, they're in less of a rush than those of us in a metropolitan area. But at the same time, if they are in those rural areas, they don't really have as many opportunities to connect and do what you just talked about. My Olivia, sometimes my youngest...
You create your opportunities, but yes.
That's exactly right. Olivia gets annoyed with me because she's like, Dad, why do you gotta talk to everybody? Like if the waitress comes over, the waiter comes over, or she's like, Dad, that's so awkward. I'm like, it's not awkward. We're being human and talking. Try it one day,
Yes, because she grew up in LA, and I experienced the same thing with people who grew up in LA. I remember I was at an audition in LA, which was new for me because I'd spent 30 years auditioning in New York, and then I was in LA. I was sitting in an audition, and I talked to the woman next to me, and she said, "This is so weird. We don't really talk at these things." I was like, "Yeah, I know, but like I do. She said, let me guess, you're from New York. I said, yeah. She said, I tried New York. I hated it for that very reason, because, you know, everybody's all friends with each other in the waiting room for an audition. I said, yeah, I held people's babies, and then I got pregnant. And when my baby came out, they held my baby. We're all still friends to this day, and nobody's doing that for a living anymore, right? You know, it was so nice. And she said, yeah, I couldn't stand any of that. She said, that's why I like auditioning in LA. You go, you don't talk to anybody, you get back in your car and you leave. And I'm like, what kind of life? Because what do you think your life is? Do you think when you're at an audition or you're doing some kind of acting job that it's like separate from your actual life? It is your life. Like you said.
That's why people don't know who they are anymore, because I am, because you are. There is my best philosophy ever existed, the Ubuntu from Africa. We talked about it already, which explains exactly this. I am because of you are. We shape ourselves. That's why it has never been so important to understand the importance of connection, because if you don't connect, you are empty, because you are not enough. So the connection makes you who you are. So choose your connections wisely. Why do we say so? Because they make you become who you are.
Yeah.
It reminds me of this story. You know, Brian Tracy is one of the godfathers of speaking and sales. You don't know?
Oh. Now I want to.
He's been around forever. He's an amazing, amazing speaker. One of the classic originals. But he said, let's say he's from Utah, right? People will say, hey, you live in Utah? He goes, yes. What are the people like in Utah? And he would ask the person, well, what are they like where you live? And if they say, oh, they're really pushy and not very friendly, he goes, I think you'll find them the same way here. And then when somebody asks him again, what are people like in Utah? He'll say, well, what are people like where you live? Oh, they're so friendly and warm. He says, I think you'll find them the same way here.
That is so good.
Well,
yeah,
and
that's it.
It says a lot, right? You do bring light. You bring your perspective where you go in life. There's a classic saying in program. When I say program, I mean the recovery programs. That
from drugs and alcohol. Yeah.
Pulling a geographic is what it's called. And
say it again.
Pulling a geographic.
Okay.
So what that means is this. Let's say, Sandy, you are really unhappy, right? You decide tomorrow, I'm going to change my life. I'm moving. I'm getting rid of everything. I'm going to move to North Dakota, right? And my life's going to be better there. It's, you know, and what happens when you move to North Dakota? You create the same exact life there because you still took you with you. You just ran instead of looking at it. And it's called pulling a geographic. You leave because that's the problem. And that's never the problem. I mean, yes, we all have a right to move and change if we're out, we want to experience something new. But this is a very specific thing.
Absolutely.
Running.
And it's the same exact thing as Francesca said, you create your own life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You said something like that. Yeah. And who's the actress who said, wherever you go, there you are?
I don't know.
Sally Fielder, but this is the same thing. I'll tell you, right along those lines, when I first moved to New York, because I was born here, but I grew up mostly in South Florida. So I moved back to New York City when I had just turned 26. And I got an amazing job working at a legendary radio station, 95.5 WPLJ, which was owned by ABC. So I am by myself in this big city, and I just got this massive broadcasting job in the #1 market. So I had an apartment in Hell's Kitchen, and I moved, well, it was October, so it was just turning cold. And I didn't know how to dress. You know, I didn't know this layers thing. I didn't have a scarf. I didn't understand that hats actually have a function, right? So I just had like my Florida, I had like a Champion sweatshirt, you know, because that was cool back then in Florida, even when it was hot. So here I'm living in New York. It's getting a little bit colder. And I walk into the radio station. It's one of my first few weeks at work. So it's like early November. And Tom Cuddy, who is one of the most most amazing people ever to grace this planet. He's a mentor of mine in the broadcast industry. We still work together to this day at iHeart. Anyway, so Tom says to me, oh, hey, you don't have a PLJ jacket. I said, a PLJ jacket? No, I don't. And he said, I think we have one left over from last year's Christmas presents. Let me check the closet. So he walks me down the hallway in the legendary PLJ building, which is above Madison Square Garden. And he opens up the closet, and there's one sort of large man, red jacket, and it says ABC PLJ legendary, right? And he's like, oh, it's a little big. I'm like, I'll take it. Right? So now, and to this day, I still have that jacket. Unfortunately, it actually fits now. So anyway, so I had the jacket. I was so excited, and I didn't have a cell phone where you could take a picture and send it to your mother. So I called my mother and told her about it. And she said, oh, that's just the sweetest thing I've ever heard. It's November now. He probably knows you don't have a good jacket. That was so kind of that man. I said, Mom, it was very kind of Tom to give me the jacket. Nothing about him thought she might be cold. Right? But that just goes to show how we see the world, and you're going to find that everywhere. So my mom thought, what a kind, compassionate, thoughtful man, which he is. Yeah. But he was like, oh, hey, you're new. You don't have any gear. Let's get you some swag. We got one thing left. And that was, right? Yeah. So that's, mindsets. We always make it mean something. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to be mean to somebody all the time, but sometimes we have to protect ourselves. That's what you meant, Sandy. It's not
say that again.
Mean. I think we have to stand for our values. If that's read as being mean by someone, it's because this person also doesn't want to listen to your perspective. So
I think you make a really good point, because you're saying my mother assumed kindness. It wasn't opposite of kindness. It was a just very kind of, but you're saying as one would assume kindness, someone else would assume mean, and neither is necessarily the case.
Also, kindness can be so fake. It's just because the person wants to avoid, the matter, and is basically bringing kindness into the situation just to avoid. So there is kindness and kindness, as there are fears and fears. Fears based on true experience, fears based on illusional fears that don't even exist. So it always depends what we are talking about, because we always give definition to names, but then there is so much more.
Yeah, and at the same time, just because somebody has an intent that's mean when they say it to you, it doesn't mean you have to take it that way. I do this all the time now on the comments on my ads for that I run, because it's just by the nature. When you put yourself out there, people are going to respond negatively sometimes. I have a file, maybe next week we'll read it, or our next one we'll read it. I call it the funny file. And every time I get a negative comment, I screenshot it, put it in that file, and delete it. And then I read them sometimes and laugh. Some of them are hysterical. But one said, well, if you are the world's most recognized hypnotherapist, how come I've never heard of you? You know what I put? I put, well, you have now. And then the person wrote back, okay, good job.
That's great. That's great.
I don't have to take everything the way people mean it. Or somebody said something else, and I responded back positively, and they said, that was a dig, right? I said, yeah, I know, but I'm still not choosing to take it that way.
Did you say that was a dick ride?
No, a dig. A dig.
Oh. A dig, right? I thought you said, that was a dick ride. I'm like, that's hilarious.
And they said, no, I don't think like you, Sandy.
So there you go. It just happened.
It's a matter of accent. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
And they said, yes, it was a DIG, right? And I said, yes, I know. But just because you meant it that way, that's not how I took it. And
yeah,
it's really, it's a lot more fun to see life.
It is. So I had somebody buy Hypnosis MP3 off of my website for $7.99. Okay. And he writes to me and he says, this is the worst piece of crap I've ever heard. I'm a professional sound audio engineer, and you have some noise in the background that I just couldn't remove with my best professional audio removal equipment, right? And he goes on and on about how bad it is. And I'm thinking, why? He could have just asked for his money back, and what is he even talking about? So I listened to the recording. Now, some of my old recordings, you can hear like, mouth pops or like the fan that goes on the computer in the background. And if you hear the fan in the computer in the background of some of my old recordings, just know I was sitting in my sound booth for hours sweating. Yeah. And the computer was hot because I wanted to get it right. But that's okay. The newer recordings are, I use different sound reduction technology, so they're a little bit better. But the older ones, I mean, you can hear some stuff, but like, it doesn't even bother me. So what are you talking about? Anyway, I think he meant the ocean waves. I think what he meant was the sound of ocean waves that I put in the background of the recording. I have no idea. Okay, so he says, you're terrible, it's horrible, I'm a professional audio guy, you can't remove your background sound for nothing, right? So I'm like, okay. So I wrote him back, and I thought of so many things I could say, or like defending or explanation. Here's all I said. I wrote back, I said, but it is in the sound where we find our silence, grasshopper. That's it. That's all I wrote back. I think we lost Francesca. Hold on.
No.
Oh, you're here. Okay. So I just, that's all I wrote, and I hit send, and then I went and I gave him, he spent $7.99. I gave him $20 back.
Okay.
Just because I was like, go away. Now, if you're watching this, don't try that. I'm never doing that again. So don't think that you're going to start making money over it. Right? So that was 2 a.m. that I did that. I wake up, now it's 6 a.m, and I see, boop, he's emailed me back. I'm like, oh no, right? This is what I have to wake up to again. I went to bed with this, and I wake up, and he wrote, that is the best response I've ever gotten from anyone, and he booked a session with me.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
To be honest,
yeah.
Really be like waves, the frequency, not going against a wall as a frequency, like it moves, doesn't smash into the wall, but it goes beyond and on the sides as a wave shapes itself while, going through the beaches or, within the sand. We should be the same as we are energy. So it's an amazing visualization for people to do instead of looking for perfection and overachievement, to be like a wave, to adapt and to, and to be consistent at the same time.
Yeah, I wasn't able to, I didn't end up getting this gig, but this was one gig I really wanted, but I had a trip already planned. It was to speak at a high school about and give a presentation about bullying. I was so excited to share on that topic, but that one didn't end up happening. But I would have loved it, and it would have been a kind of stuff. And we talked about it briefly. We can definitely dive into that topic again about what do you do when people verbally come at you abusively, especially when your kids are younger, and how do you change that? How do you pattern interrupt it? And I was so excited to do it, but that one didn't happen. Another one will come up like that.
What do you want to share a gem from that? Something you wish you could have shared?
One of the biggest gems, I think, it's like if somebody says, if somebody actively insults you, like, hey, you know what? You are such a dipshit. And look at that sweater, and just look how ugly your face is, or whatever it may be. All right? And then you say back to them, yeah, you know what? I guess you're right. I can be kind of dumb sometimes. Maybe the sweater isn't so great, and I don't know. I'm not the best looking guy around, so yeah, I guess you're right.
Bingo.
I think abuse, guys, most of the cases comes from, we can see it, of course, for someone that is killing someone, or from someone, is abusing on someone, then to the point that is killing the person, or we can also see the abusing families or within connection. I think it comes from passive aggression that has been there for a long time, and then you start abusing of others and yourself, because to keep energy within, as we say, it's very dangerous. You become passive aggressive. So then people start abusing of themselves or of others. I believe that's the main cause.
You're absolutely right. And you've heard the saying, I know Glenn uses it all the time because he works with people in recovery, hurt people hurt people.
Yes.
Yes.
It's true. And when
That's what's going on. Glenn, if I could put into words the technique that you're talking about, which makes you such a good salesperson, because in your life you've been a sales trainer, yes?
Mhm.
Right? You've been like head of sales and things like that. If we could boil down the technique that you're using and tell me if you agree with this, it's a secret that I talk about in my podcast as well. The secret is this, because when you understand this secret, it changes your communication, which means it changes your success for life. And it's this one phrase: always assume positive intent.
Yeah, but don't be stupid at the same time, because we have to be we have to be awake and
I didn't say fool yourself. And you know, my children, when I teach this to me, argue with me, but they don't have positive intent. Still, when you communicate, you assume positive intent. You know what? I love that you took the time to tell me about my sweater. Always, we know that they're being a jerk, but always, when you communicate, always assume positive intent.
When you agree with someone, it disarms them. If they come at you angry and negative, the second you agree, it interrupts their pattern. And that's when, and a lot of this stuff is easier said than done, especially when you're younger, to not take it personally, because that comment's got nothing to do with me and everything to do with them. Because people approach people that way, unless wrong, hurt people. So you realize that's got nothing to do with me. And just because they're, what was that line, Sandy? This is your line, I think. If somebody gives you the gift, if you don't take it, who does that gift belong to? Right? It's something like that. Is that not the line?
I like that. Say it again different. Say it again.
If somebody hands you a gift and you don't take the gift, who does that gift belong to?
I don't know if I've ever said it like that, but what I have said is, let's say two people are in an argument and they break up, okay? This person blames this person, okay? So this one guy's blaming the other guy. And then the person putting the blame starts to evolve a little bit, and they learn and they realize, well, if I'm blaming you, I'm holding blame. Blame is bad. I'm not going to blame you anymore. I create my own reality. I'm a better person. This person says, they say, I'm taking the blame myself. I'm responsible for this bad relationship. We good, not you. And I had a client come in saying something like that very recently. And I said to her, I'm calling bullshit right now. There's the dick ride. I said, because you are saying you're taking the blame. You're saying it as if you're some evolved person and we need to give you a medal for taking the blame. I said, you just announced that there's poison in the air. I was putting the poison on you, but that's not fair, so I'm going to swallow the poison. How does that make it any better? Because here's the thing. People believe that there's blame, so the blame is hanging in the air. And if it can't be your blame, it has to be my blame. How about if we blow up the blame and nobody takes it?
But in fact, there is no blame. It's about people expose what's the problem, and the other person thinks the person is blaming him. People don't take responsibility. That's the problem of actions and things, you know, happening. If you take responsibility, you don't see it as a blame. Say, yes, I've been bad with my words. You know, you have been hurting me a lot. This is not blaming anyone. I think people are a bit of immature in today's society.
People are so immature. And that, Glenn, when you talk about there is a gift, if it's not yours, it's mine, but there's a gift hanging in the air. Well, guess what? Same thing with blame. Leave it hanging in the air. Blow it up. Nobody has to take it.
Nobody has to take it, but also things that have to be said. Otherwise, they come back in another way. You know, people take everything too personally, which of course happens to everyone. But at the same time, we don't have to feel the blame. We just have to listen, accept, and move on, and not repeating. That's the thing.
So how do we, Glenn, take that with what you said about gifts, and how do we make it make sense in other words?
Well, just because gives you something, you don't have to take it. You know, if you put the racket down, the ball gets hit at you, even if the ball hits you, it doesn't go back.
Yes. Yes.
Now, what you said, Francesca, it is like the responsibility factor. And I think if there's one bad example we're getting in this world now from politicians on both sides of the fence, both sides, is that I don't see any world leader taking responsibility for the difficult things. They all want to jump on the bandwagon. I did this. Well, how come when it was the other way, you took no responsibility for it? And I think that's the issue we're having with our world leaders these days.
Yes.
You know, a good CEO, a good business owner realizes ultimately they're responsible for everything that happens in their company. They're responsible for the culture of that company, just like we are for our businesses, for our teams. We're responsible for all of it. And
no, I don't think we are responsible, first of all, of our actions, and then we can make the situation better, not feeling necessarily responsible. Otherwise, we handle so much energy and we blame anyone or we accuse anyone not following what we are expecting. So that's the thing. You know, the responsibility doesn't come from the outside, comes from the inside of what you actually do and take action upon. And then, so if you create a team, you are not responsible for everyone. Everyone is responsible for their own self. But then what is the responsibility to make things work?
Yes, but after of who created it, it does fall on you. Yes, I'm not responsible for everybody's actions, but the culture, it's me. And that is the biggest thing we're missing. I feel like
culture is me. That's really good. The culture is me.
The culture is
I like that. And
like
that's you staying in your line. When you take the word responsibility and break it down, it comes from response.
You respond.
So
yeah.
Think about it. Think about it. So to tie it all up with how we respond to people when they insult us, I may have shared this story with you guys a while ago. It was a rainy day at school. The kids couldn't go outside for recess, so they set up a microphone in the auditorium and the kids could get up and sing or whatever. So Bodhi, my son, who is 12, got up and told a joke. Wait, I have to take a pause. I brought a joke for you guys today. I brought a dad joke, and then we'll come back to the story. What do you call a bear with no teeth?
I don't know.
Bear. Gummy bear. What do you call a bear with no socks? Bare feet. What? Here's the last one. What do you call a deer? What do you call a deer with no eyes?
I don't know.
That's close. It's no idea. Okay, so back to the story. It's recess. It's raining outside. Bodhi gets up to the microphone. He decides to tell a joke. It was probably one of those or all three. Anyway, from Bodhi's perspective, he said the joke went well. The kids loved it. They were laughing. They were high-fiving him. So Bodhi now, it's after school, a few hours later, he gets on the bus to go home. And some kid named David comes up to Bodhi and he says, Bodhi, I heard your joke. It was really dumb. It was really stupid. And you were really bad at telling a joke. You're no good. You should never get up on the microphone again. And so Bodhi's telling me this story. And he says, Mom, I know you're just chomping at the bit to give me the right response. He said, but wait, don't say it yet, Mom. I want to tell you what I actually said. Then you could tell me what I should have said. I said, okay. So he said, so the kid says, you know, you were no good. It was really stupid. You're an idiot. And he said, Bodhi said, David, I'm curious. You're telling me that. What does that do for you?
Mm-hmm.
So I said to Bodhi, okay, now you want to know my response? He said, yeah. I said, couldn't be any better than what you just did. That was perfect. Now I'm talking to you, not Bodhi. When we talk about that sense of responsibility, I am my own culture, he put the responsibility right on David. David, you be responsible for why you just showed up. So tell me, what does this do for you? Boom, checkmate, game over. Put the responsibility where it belongs. He didn't suck that in. He didn't take that fake gift, you see.
Yeah, you don't take a leap of faith and you expect it always from others, then you are not taking responsibility also for the connection you are building. It happens in work, at work, like scenes everywhere. Like this is the main problem of today's society, I believe. Everyone is expecting things from everyone else's, not having the responsibility of actually doing what you want to do.
Yeah, personal responsibility, being impeccable with your word, one of the 4 agreements. Those
Impeccable
are
with your work creations, because
the word.
Yeah.
With your word.
I love that word, impeccable with your word, because you can add to that and be unpeccable. People can try and peck at you.
I mean,
that's
work with creation, because we need more creators than workers, in my opinion. But anyway.
Yes. All right, kids. Well, this was a good catch up, back to everything. And yeah, we're at that hour mark, which is always longer than we want to go. But it happens easily and quickly.
So nice to see you.
All right, so Three Ways Podcast. Three Ways Podcast. It's wherever you get your podcasts, and also on YouTube. So go back, watch the parts that you missed. Quick takeaways, and then we out. What's your takeaway, Glenn?
The takeaway is there's not one takeaway. But I think the biggest lesson from our time is if we shift to our own personal responsibility for our experience in life. It doesn't matter where we go, whether it's England, New York, LA, you can make a beautiful life of experiences for yourself without those areas trying to make it for you.
Beautiful. My takeaway, dear Sandino and Glenino, is let's not forget to build good feelings upon good things, because feelings are nothing else than a conscious experience of what the emotion, which is the reaction toward the matter, has been creating. So let's focus on the reaction, understanding it, but let's build good emotions to end up building good feelings, because feelings shape our own choices, as it is a conscious emotional situation.
I like it.
Yeah.
That was pretty, a lot of work.
Magic woman.
That was pretty.
All right. So takeaway, 2 takeaways. Number 1, know your damn sandwich before you order something at a New York deli.
Yes. Those are fighting words if you don't.
And 2, people often either say to us or write up on the screen here. I don't think in the recording you can see what's written on the screen, but live, I think you can. People often communicate to us, you guys are hypnotherapists. Why aren't you spending more of this time hypnotizing people or talking about hypnosis? And as we've been talking throughout today, it just kept occurring to me that these conversations are all about belief systems. It's what drives us. It's when you say the people in this city are like this, therefore I find people in every city like this. Your mind, whatever you think about, your mind takes you there. This very much is the work we do. When people are in session with us, we talk about these belief systems. We get really clear. We get really clear on what the false belief systems are. And the only difference in a session compared to what we're doing right now in this conversation is then we hypnotize someone. And at any point, if people want to come on and be hypnotized, I know that's Glenn's favorite thing. So
yeah,
Always.
super funny, guys, to watch and to be part of it. Join us live.
I missed you guys.
All right.
I missed you guys.
See you all very soon.
Baci, see you soon. Next week or in 2 weeks max?
2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once
Every other week I think is good, because we have this needs time for people to process and go out and do its thing, I believe. And it's good. We'll figure it out. We'll see all of you soon. You post it
okay.
out.
Dream Team, see you soon. Baci. Ciao.